Hello, welcome to a new video. Today I'm taking the Honda Navi for a pretty chilly December ride. Starting out on Hikes Lane. And it's quite windy. Very windy. And in situations like this, I have to remember that the microphone is inside my helmet and not to yell and be too loud. But yeah, it's a day where it's right now in the upper 40s, low 50s. Not particularly sunny or bright out. And I think on this bike it always seems windy because there's no windshield. And the ones they sell for it don't go up very far, so I'm not sure that it would accomplish much. But I'm riding around. So this is so windy. So I was passing Hikes Lane. I wasn't on Hikes Lane. I'm actually on Breckenridge Lane. Actually, I'm gonna loop back around the other way. Yeah, so I was saying that I was on Hikes Lane. I passed Hikes Lane. I'm on Breckenridge Lane. I just always consider that general area where I started out to be Hikes Lane because that's typically where I'm going if I go through there. But I was on Breckenridge Lane. That's what I was on. So if I remember the way correctly, I'm going to take Breckenridge Lane here and go towards Hurstbourne Parkway, which should be pretty busy this time of year. With all the stores out there for the holiday shopping. And hopefully part of that path I won't have to go full throttle the entire time. It won't be so windy. Because the speed limit through here was 45 miles per hour, and going into the wind on flat ground to get up to speed, you have to have this pinned full throttle the entire time. Unless you weigh like 100 pounds or something, but in which case you might be able to go a little bit faster, a little bit more quickly, but not the case here. So I'm turning onto Maynardale Drive. So this is the time of year when people are starting to have holiday get-togethers, even though the actual, holidays, Christmas, New Year's are a few weeks away, but alright, turn here at the light onto 6 Mile Lane. Well, it's on one end it's that, and then the other end it's whatever this is. Unless I made a wrong turn. I think I did. Don't think I want to go through here. So this is part of the joy of riding stuff that doesn't have GPS sitting up on your dashboard like you do in a car most of the time now. Because the alternative I found with the Navi or the e-bikes or stuff, because the alternative I found when I wanted to take one of the e-bikes or this Honda Navi or something out for a ride, and I'm going somewhere I'm not 100% familiar with, that the alternative to get the GPS stuff is to wear my AirPods connected to my phone and just have those under my helmet, and then I just, before I take off, put in my destination, and then when I'm riding it will, via the AirPods, tell me the directions, which usually works pretty well. And I know you can also just get handlebar mounts and have your cell phone hanging off the handlebars, but a standard mount sometimes, if the bike vibrates enough, can vibrate your phone a lot and damage it, messing up the gyroscopes in it or the camera or something. So I did not mount the Honda Navi any type of handlebar mount. So now I'm about to turn left onto Hurstbourne Lane. And that light just took forever. But yeah, I don't have a phone mount on the Navi. It's also the stock handlebars don't have a lot of space where it would actually make sense to put one. So now I'm on the Hurstbourne Parkway. Or Hurstbourne Lane. This is another example of a road where you have to be full throttle the entire time. But something else I've ran into with the Navi, I think on most of the bigger streets with the stoplights, they have timing and more, complex stuff that moves it along. But on side streets, the bike will oftentimes not be heavy enough to trigger the sensor for like a left turn or something, and you'll be sitting there at the light and it just doesn't go forever. So then a car gets behind you and I'll pull forward a little bit, so hopefully they can pull forward and actually have the sensor pick their car up, and they won't do it. And you just sit there forever. But at least on these bigger roads, I think it's more based on timing and stuff. But, yeah, when the bike plus rider is only weighing, a few hundred pounds, sometimes that's not enough to trigger the sensors. So this is the section of Hurstbourne where there's some restaurants, and I probably can't see it because I'm not tilting my head like the Exorcist in 360 degrees, but there's a theater, different restaurants, there's some different stores, but with everybody buying stuff online these days, you do wonder why the holidays make traffic so much worse, unless you're around like a shopping mall or outlet shops or something. Are that many more people really going to Target than usual or something? But this bike is not particularly fast, so it's one where you really don't want to dart out into traffic unless there's adequate space. Because on top of it not being super fast, people see a motorcycle, they automatically assume it's fast and assume you'll be going fast, so they go fast. Then everybody's disappointed about how fast you can actually go. I feel like once I actually edit this video, it's just going to be a lot of cuts because of so many lights, but I mean, that's what happens when you ride in normal traffic. And this is a section of the road where they actually do have a bike lane that rides next to the road over here to the right. The problem is that it's not protected in any way. There's not any type of dividers, whether it's just the reflective plastic things or concrete. And you're right next to a road where people regularly do 50 miles per hour or more. And then it just ends, like right here. So then you're supposed to ride in the road, which I don't particularly want to attempt myself. Now I'm entering Jeffersontown. I've gone through here before. It would have been in the summer. I'm also recording this video with the Insta360 Ace Pro camera. I used it for a couple of previous videos recently as well. I mostly picked this one up because I'm just, continually in search of a good low light camera to use for night rides on stuff, for other projects. And the GoPros don't do so hot at night because it's a pretty small sensor. So this has a little bit bigger sensor and some processing and AI stuff that should make the low light footage better, but it does pretty good in daylight too, pretty comparable to the GoPro. So I've done some videos with some night rides. This is just doing some daylight rides to test out, because it has an HDR mode. I think I need to be in the... Yep. It has an HDR mode that, looks pretty nice from what I've seen in the test footage. And it's not, the high quality HDR stuff that professional cinema cameras use, where it's capturing a lot of, color detail and you color grade it. It's more of just where it gets, higher and lower exposures and puts them all together in one image. So theoretically you should have a little bit more detail in your shadows and your highlights than you typically would with normal footage. So I'm actually gonna go a little bit different way before I wrap up here. I was just going through a random side street. Yeah, but the HDR mode, I mean, I think that's similar to what the GoPro's HDR mode and a lot of your action cameras and stuff, and that's what most cell phones do these days. Somebody's got one of the big skeletons used for Christmas, which, enjoy seeing those used in creative ways. But yeah, the seems like a lot of smartphones and cameras are starting to adapt the HDR mode, where it gives you an 8-bit output file where they baked in the HDR into the image itself. I think usually it looks okay. Sometimes it might look bad, but I was just testing this out to see what this looks like. Because the idea here with this one, with the Ace Pro, is that I could use one camera for daylight time, and then if I'm riding into the dark, it's at nighttime, I can use the same one. I don't have to have multiple things that I switch out, and it's not as heavy as the Insta360 360 camera I use that has a 1-inch sensor or something like that. This one's a little bit lighter, more action camera style layout, so I have it mounted to the top of my helmet via helmet mount, and nobody tends to notice it or pay attention, as opposed to the 360 camera kind of sticks up a little bit more, so people do pay attention. I'm going to loop around here. So it's just a little bit more incognito. It's not quite as heavy, and seems to be a camera I can use for both daylight and nighttime footage without having to swap out. Just have to take a spare battery, because the battery life on this thing seems pretty decent. But, having an extra is always good. So I'll just loop through downtown Jeffersontown before I head back home. But I think a lot of times when you think of small towns, you think of the downtown being something like this. Seems like the kind of place that you would set a Hallmark movie with a meet cute between the big city ad exec who comes home and meets the widower who's a farmer or something. Now, part of the difference is this is just, a little strip that's surrounded by homes and, busy roads and areas in the city of Louisville and stuff, as opposed to those towns would typically be, this is the downtown, then it's just super rural, small areas. So a little bit different, but yeah, but the Navi's nice for rides around town like this. The only caveat is when it's windy and you stay on roads where the speed limit's 45 miles per hour or more, and people go that speed or faster, sometimes you feel like it's struggling a little bit. I haven't really had too many times where people are too dangerous or anything. It just takes a little bit of common sense when you're riding. Yeah, so I took this out. I started out on Breckenridge Lane, kind of by the Hikes Lane area. Then I went down, took 6 Mile Lane to Hurstbourne, rode around in that area a little bit. Then went from there to Taylorsville Road in Jeffersontown. And looks like I'm passing a car crash right now. But yeah, that was taking out the Honda Navi. Until next time.